Everyone's talking about Iran, but nobody's talking about what happens if Iran wins, because if they do, it would be the end of 5 different eras all at once. I'm going to walk through each one, how they're connected, and why this one war would end all of them. Era 1, America's Unipolar Moment. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, America became the main superpower of the world. When there's one center of global power, the world is considered to be unipolar. For over 30 years, the United States has had unmatched economic, military, and diplomatic power. They've basically been the global CEO. But historically, unipolar moments do not last forever. Britain dominated a unipolar world from 1815 until about 1880. Once major powers like Germany, France, and the United States rose up, the world became multipolar until World War II. During the Cold War, the world was bipolar, had 2 superpowers, but since 1991, it's been a unipolar world. However, since 2020, you can already argue that the world's been multipolar with a rising China. This map shows the largest trading partner for each country. In 2000, most countries traded with the United States, but now most of the world's top trading partner is China. But if Iran wins this war, the unipolar moment is officially over. Russia, China, and Iran wouldn't be challengers anymore. They would be the world's new power structure. Era 2, the petrodollar. Since 1974, every barrel of oil has been priced in US dollars. When Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard in 1971, nothing was backing it anymore. So America decided to make a deal with Saudi Arabia. Sell your oil exclusively in dollars and we'll give you military protection. All the other major oil producing countries followed suit, and overnight the entire world needed dollars to buy oil. This gives the United States insane advantages, and it's why America dominates the global economy today. If any country like Japan or India wants oil, they need US dollars first. Therefore, there's always going to be demand for the US dollar, but there's more. If Saudi Arabia sells oil, they will earn billions of dollars. And what do they do with those dollars? They invest them right back into US bonds, US companies, and US real estate. The US basically created a system where the entire world funds American spending without even realizing it. And if a country steps out of line, the United States can cut them off the system completely, and that's what sanctions are. The petrodollar system allows America to print insane amounts of money without collapsing. But what would happen if the petrodollar system ended? If Iran wins this war, Saudi Arabia's security guarantees from the United States will look like a joke. And the moment oil gets priced in anything other than dollars, the United States cheat code of printing money stops working. But the bad news is, every dollar that you're holding would buy less fast. The irony is that Iran, the country America sanctioned off the dollar system, is now helping lead the world off of it. Era 3, the Postwar Order. If Iran wins, the entire Postwar Order built after World War II would end. In 1945, after World War II ended, the winning powers led by the United States sat down to build a new global system from scratch. This became the United Nations, NATO, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. Basically, the entire rules-based international order that we still live under today. The UN gives diplomacy, NATO gives security, and the IMF and World Bank provide the finance. But all of these run on 2 things: American dollars and American credibility. These institutions are funded in dollars, they transact in dollars, and they enforce rules that protect the dollar system. The Postwar Order works because countries believe that America will enforce it. But if Iran wins this war, America won't be able to project force like the way it used to, and its credibility will disappear. And if Era 2 ends, the petrodollar system, the entire financial engine behind all these institutions would end too. Without American dollars and American credibility, NATO is just a treaty on paper. The UN Security Council would just become 5 countries arguing, and the World Bank would just be a building in Washington. Therefore, if Iran wins, down goes American power and the US dollar, and the post-war era would come to an end. Era 4, the Union. This one's even deeper: America itself. America is already an extremely divided country, and political polarization today is actually at Civil War levels. Check out how congressmen have voted over the years. Back in the 1950s, they would actually vote on the same thing. But over time, they split further and further apart, and today, they never vote the same way. The United States over time kind of looks like cell division. And get this, Republicans and Democrats don't even marry each other anymore. 96% of Democrats would not marry a Republican. Look at Twitter from 8 years ago. What this shows is that Republicans followed Republicans and Democrats followed Democrats. The only major account both parties followed was The Hill. In 2016, Republicans and Democrats are separated on Twitter, but now they're on entirely different social networks. Democrats are on social networks like Blue Sky, and Republicans are on True Social. They're moving away from each other too. Thousands of Republicans are leaving California and New York each year to move to states like Texas and Florida. You can think of America as a country of 2 nations, red and blue, living inside one system. The only major thing holding them together is a shared economy. They share the same stock market, they trade together, and they both depend on the US dollar. But if Iran wins this war, the US dollar would crash and the cost of living in the United States would spike. The one link holding Republicans and Democrats together, the US dollar, would go away. At that point, it won't just be political division, it will be a structural division. The question becomes, how long can the United States stay unified if the people are this divided and the one system holding them together starts to fail? So if Iran wins this war, the American Union could actually end, and that's 4 eras down, and the last one is the biggest of all. Era 5, the Western Era. This one actually goes back to 1492. When Columbus crossed the Atlantic Ocean, it started something that's never happened before. For the first time, Western European powers started to dominate the rest of the world. Spain, Portugal, cycle, the Dutch, Britain, and eventually America. For over 500 years, Western powers have controlled global trade and set the rules. And you can see that reflected in the world's economic center of gravity, which is the average location of global GDP. For the longest time, it was in Asia. The world's biggest economies before 1500 were China, India, and the Islamic world. However, starting in 1950, the world's economic center of gravity began moving west with the rise of European powers, the Industrial Revolution, and America. But since 1950, it's already been moving back to Asia with the rise of India and China. However, if Iran wins, this would go way further. If America's unipolar world ends with the petrodollar system and the post-war order institutions crumble, what you're looking at isn't the decline of one country. It's the end of an entire civilizational era, a 500-year period where the West dominated the world, coming to a close. So now let's zoom out and see the full picture. If Iran wins this war, these 5 eras would collapse like dominoes. The unipolar world, the petrodollar, the post-war order, the American Union, and the Western era. If Iran wins this war, it could change the world in many ways that's hard to process. My goal is to cover rising and falling countries and how the world's changing, so make sure you subscribe for more content like this.